Here we talk about subphylum Vertebrata, class Amphibia, the amphibians, which means double life. These are the first vertebrates to walk on land. They are pretty small, but they're very numerous. Amphibians are the direct descendants of fishes, and they are still quite tied to water. Reproduction still occurs in the water to prevent the eggs from desiccating or drying out, but there is a body system in place to prevent whole body desiccation. So amphibians are terrestrial, but they're still closely linked to water, like the bryophytes, the mosses, the first plants that colonized the land. There are 3 modern amphibian groups, around 7,000 species in total. Order Anura are the frogs, which have no tail. Order Caudata are the salamanders and newts, which have a long body and a long tail, plus smooth, moist skin. Order Apoda are the caecilians, worm-like, legless, and blind amphibians. There are 5 distinguishing amphibian features that define them and separate them out from the other classes of animals. Number 1, most amphibians, the frogs and salamanders, have legs. The caecilians have secondarily lost their legs. These legs allow amphibians to be adapted to life on land. They fully support the body and move independently from the head. To accompany these legs, amphibians also have strong vertebrae and rib cage. Amphibians all have lungs. However, these aren't the lungs that we have. Right? They have much less surface area than reptiles, birds, or mammals, which leads to relatively inefficient respiration. On top of that, our lungs move oxygenated air into them based on pressure differences that fill the whole lung, whereas the amphibian just gulps oxygenated air, like we gulp down a bite of food. So respiration is further limited by the size of the mouth. To supplement that inefficient respiration, amphibians have cutaneous respiration, or breathing through the moist skin, oxygen exchange through the moist skin. The cardiovascular or circulatory system is also quite advanced in amphibians. Amphibians have pulmonary veins, a separate pulmonary circuit, vessels that go to the lungs before oxygenated blood is sent out to the body. So thinking back to the fish, there was single circuit circulation there. The heart pumped, sending blood to the gills where it was oxygenated, and then that blood traveled to the tissues to dump off that oxygen before returning to the heart. So just one loop. Whereas with amphibians and also reptiles, birds, and mammals, we have a pulmonary circuit where the heart pumps, sending deoxygenated blood to the lungs to pick up oxygen. That oxygenated blood returns to the heart where it pumps again, allowing higher pressure to move that now oxygenated blood to the tissues. Right? So 2 pumps instead of 1. To go along with that, class Amphibia has a partially divided heart. The atria, or upper chambers, are divided so oxygenated blood does not mix with deoxygenated blood. Now, with amphibians, the ventricles or lower chambers are still not divided, so some mixing does take place, but with the atria divided, that's better than no mixing, than the mixing that happens in the fish. So here we got our frogs and toads. These are compact, tailless amphibians that are specialized for jumping. Salamanders and newts have a more slender body and a long tail. And then our caecilians, the smallest group of amphibians by far, just a small tropical group that resembles more a snake or a worm, no limbs, no tail. So to look at these groups in some more detail here, frogs and toads, right? Frogs and toads all have broad bodies, no tails. Frogs have smooth, moist skin and long legs, which allow them to be good jumpers. Most live either in or near water. They have aquatic tadpoles with gills and a tail, more like a fish. And then metamorphosis turns those aquatic tadpoles into an adult which is a complete change in habitat, morphology, and diet. The adults have a much bigger jaw and a tongue. The eyes and the legs grow. The gills and the lateral line disappear. And vision changes when tadpoles turn into adults. Very few vertebrates go through a complete metamorphosis like this. You might remember this from insects, right? All insects go through a metamorphosis, but it's relatively rare in a vertebrate. Toads are different from frogs in that they have bumpy, dry skin and short legs. The group toad is not a monophyletic grouping. All it means is that these animals are adapted to dry environments, and that condition evolved multiple times. So it's more of an ecological classification than a phylogenetic classification. The eggs are laid in water. They lack watertight membrane, so they do dry out if they are not in water. Eggs are fertilized externally to turn into that swimming larval form, the tadpole, that feeds on algae, and then gradual metamorphosis turns that tadpole into an adult. Salamanders and newts are predators, both as larvae and adults. They have long bodies, tails, and smooth, moist skin. Their movement is more by lateral undulation, kind of swaying back and forth, very close to what a fish moves like in order to swim through water. Salamanders and newts live in moist places, such as in leaf litter, under rocks and logs, or just in aquatic areas completely. The eggs are laid in moist places or directly in water. Internal fertilization is the rule here. And those eggs then develop into an aquatic larvae with gills. Some never metamorphosize out of that state. Caecilians are tropical burrowing amphibians. They are legless with small eyes. They are often blind because they live within the soil, right? So not much need for vision. And they have jaws with teeth with which they eat invertebrates in the soil like worms. Fertilization, again, is internal in both salamanders and caecilians.